This is probably my last video. Damn it. Not like that. If anyone finds this video, know that I am the last survivor of the Pride of the Seas ship. My name is Kid Woodward, and I am the doctor of the Pride of the Seas cargo ship. Or rather, I was a doctor.
We were heading home from Japan with 5,000 containers of cargo. There were 12 people in our crew. Everything was going according to plan until 300 miles north of the Hawaiian Islands. We picked up a passenger. That's when it all started. The first to notice the girl was Chief Mate Heeds. Her body was rocking on the waves on our left. She wasn't moving. We could have missed her if it hadn't been for her bright life jacket. A storm was approaching, and everything around us was gray, both the water and the sky. Yeah, she got really lucky. When we brought the girl aboard, she was unconscious, but alive. I didn't know how much time she had spent in the water. 2, 3 days? The crew helped carry her to the sickbay, and she soon regained consciousness. The girl's name was Melissa, and she was from Seattle. I tried to find out what had happened to her, but she had big gaps in her memory. The last thing she remembered was being on vacation with her friends in Hawaii. It happens sometimes. People go into shock as a result of a stressful situation. I decided to examine Melissa after noticing a bloody bandage above her knee. I was expecting anything but what I actually saw. At first glance, it was an ordinary wound. She could have gotten it by hitting something sharp. But when I took the first aid kit to clean up the cut, I noticed teeth. What the hell? Small, sharp teeth were growing from the edges of the wound, like it was a real jaw. I touched them with tweezers, and I swear, the edges of the wound slammed shut, as if they wanted to bite me.
Do you hear it?
Melissa suddenly asked.
It's calling.
I tried to hear what she was talking about, but there was nothing but the measured noise of the engines.
Now, it demands that I help it get out.
The girl sat up on the couch. Apparently, the consequences of being in open water were quite serious. After returning, she would need to go to a psychiatrist. I gave the girl a sedative and left her to rest. Then, I went to my cabin and started reading my medical books. I looked through everything I could think of, but couldn't find any explanation for what it could be. At that moment, they called me and asked to come back at once. Chief Mate Heeds needed my help. I ran there. Something crazy had happened in the sickbay. Melissa was huddling in a corner, and Heeds was clutching the wound in his neck and screaming like crazy. "Let go! Let me see!" I shouted. It was a bite. A part of the chief mate's neck had been bitten off. The wound wasn't deep, but quite large. While I was stitching up Heeds, he said he had decided to check if everything was okay with the girl. That's when he had seen the strange wound on her leg. Bent over to examine it, and at that moment, she had bitten him with her leg. It sounded absurd. I glanced at the quiet Melissa. She was looking around, scared.
Can you hear it? It's close. It's calling all of you.
That was too much. It was time to declare a state of emergency. I told the captain that there were 2 seriously wounded on board and we needed to go to the nearest port at once. But he said that a storm was approaching and he wasn't going to risk the cargo for the sake of 2 people. A few hours later, the captain regretted his decision, but it was already too late. By that time, 4 more team members had been injured. Turned out that the mouths that had appeared all over the sailors' bodies had to be fed. Otherwise, they would find food themselves. Everyone on board started to panic. I had to treat more and more people. Horrified, I noticed that not only teeth could appear in the wounds. When one of the sailors took off his shirt, I almost screamed in shock. Several eyes were staring at me from his back. Soulless, black eyes. And they weren't human, more like shark eyes. All the infected started to hear someone's voice, that someone was calling them and ordering them to do something. I still don't know how that infection is transmitted, but it was definitely not microbial or viral. Some weren't even bitten. The captain just cut himself while shaving, and an hour later, a small eye was staring out of the cut. I had been lucky so far. There wasn't a single scratch on my body, but by nightfall, things became very hard. We were in the eye of the storm. The ship was being thrown from side to side. None of the crew were doing their duties anymore.
They were either looking for food for the mouths that had grown on their bodies or talking to someone I couldn't hear. But worst of all, the girl we had pulled out of the water in the morning had disappeared. All of a sudden, the light went out. The sickbay was immediately plunged into complete darkness. The engine stopped, and I felt the ship begin to lose speed. I don't know what had turned off the power on the entire ship. It didn't matter. I just wanted to stay alive. That's why I'd immediately run along the passageways to the upper deck. Several times I had met crew members who had gone insane and were eating each other. Chief Mate Heeds attacked me in one of the passageways. He was screaming that he was hungry, that he had to feed all the mouths or they would eat him. Using the flashlight, I saw the teeth clattering in the mouths on his body. I pushed Heeds away and ran on. I'd almost reached the upper deck when something suddenly appeared right in front of me. The figure is covered with mouths all over. It looked at me with dozens of eyes, drooling.
Master, this is the last one. He will become a part of you too.
The single human mouth on that monster said it, and I recognized it by its voice. It was Melissa. It was her. Or rather, what she had become. The creature ran towards me. I bolted as fast as I could.
You have nowhere to run. Give it your body.
I could hear them behind me. The distance between us was rapidly closing. With the last of my strength, I tumbled out onto the deck and saw a huge number of containers. I decided to hide, tore off the seal from one of them, and ran inside. The heavy door closed, and I hid. I could hear heavy footsteps outside. The creature was looking for me. Everything seemed to be quiet. Another wave hit, and the deck tilted. I heard the cable break, and everything turned upside down. A few seconds of free flight, and the container hit the water. Water starts pouring in through the cracks at once. Damn it, I'm drowning! I rushed to the door, but couldn't get it open. The water was quickly rising. There was less and less air. It seemed that this was the end. My head was spinning. I realized that I could barely breathe anymore. I started to gasp for air. This went on for several minutes. And then I felt an impact. The container had hit the seabed. That was it. I had enough air for maybe 3 minutes. As I was losing consciousness, I saw the door open. 2 people in atmospheric diving suits were behind it.
I don't know how they managed to make it in time. They might have been following the ship.
There was a research station at the bottom of the sea, right under the ship. They called themselves the SCP Foundation. I couldn't believe my luck. It turned out later, I'd got excited too early. I woke up on a bed in the medical bay. A woman in a white robe and with a badge on her chest was sitting next to me. Where am I? What happened?
You were drowning. We saved you.
It took me a few seconds to remember what had happened to me.
Are you from the Pride of the Seas transport ship?
The woman asked. Yes, my name is Kid Woodward. I am a doctor.
Great. Mr. Woodward, was there anyone else uninfected aboard your ship?
No, everyone else turned into those creatures. Wait, how do you know what happened to us?
That's not important.
The woman replied and pressed a button next to the bed. 2 soldiers immediately walked into the room, grabbed and started dragging me along the long corridors of the underwater station. No! What's going on? Let me go! I was locked in a cell. Only then did I realize I was in captivity.
New here? The sooner you accept that we are all already dead, the better.
I heard a voice on the left. A woman in an orange jumpsuit was sitting in the cell next to mine. She was looking at me indifferently. What's going on? What do they need us for?
You haven't realized yet? For experiments, it will be our turn soon, and we will become just like them.
She pointed further into the hall. I saw a few more cells against the far wall. There were infected people inside. One of them was completely covered with toothy jaws and rushing about his cell. The second one was in an even worse condition. He was lying motionless on the floor, and it seemed he was eating himself. The sight almost made me throw up. What kind of disease is that?
They say they found it here, at the bottom of the ocean. Some kind of abnormal mutagenic phenomenon. They even named it SCP-3760. The station was built so that they could study it.
The woman said that a young girl from Hawaii used to be in my cell. She had been crying all the time. so she had been given an amnestic, and then they wounded her leg to see what would happen. But apparently, not all her memory had been erased, because 3 days ago, she had somehow managed to escape. She had got to the escape pods and made her way to the surface.
But don't get your hopes up. They've tightened security after that incident. Only Melissa had got lucky, says the woman.
Melissa? Could it be that girl we'd caught in the sea? I didn't tell her that Melissa was no more. She had become a monster. I started to think of an escape plan. I got lucky again. I found tweezers in my inner pocket. They were so narrow the Foundation employees hadn't found them while searching me. That was my chance. I showed them to my neighbor and she immediately got closer.
Give them to me. I used to be a break-in specialist.
A couple of minutes and the lock on her cell clicked. The door opened. She immediately started to work on my lock.
Let's run,
shouted the woman, and we rushed down the corridor. But we hadn't run far when we turned the corner and the Foundation soldiers saw us. They started running after us. Damn it, I didn't want to die there. The way to the escape pods was cut off, and we ran to the other wing on the lower floor. The soldiers were right behind us. Finally, we reached an airlock. It led to a long corridor on the seabed. There were signs in front of the entrance saying that a danger zone was lying ahead. Only employees with level 2 security clearances were allowed inside. It was a dead end. We had nowhere else to go at that moment. Soldiers rushed in and tackled that woman. She resisted as best she could, but they quickly got her to the ground. And then she tore off a badge from an electronic key from one of the attackers' belts and threw it to me.
Find that thing. Avenge us all.
I didn't wait for the soldiers to catch me, so I quickly opened the airlock and started running along the illuminated corridor. It was apparently leading to some underwater rocks. I had almost reached the second airlock when I suddenly heard screams behind me.
Stop! Don't go in there!
The soldiers had stopped and were no longer following me. Not only that, they had also ran back, terrified. Damn it, there was no turning back. I had to keep moving. There were diving suits for underwater research in the second airlock. I decided to put one on just in case. When the airlock doors opened, I saw a natural flooded cave leading down. I dived and swam forward. After a few yards, I noticed a light and stepped out of the water into a large cavern. It was something like an air pocket. Equipment was scattered around. They had apparently been researching something there. At that very moment, I heard a voice right in my head.
I have been waiting for you.
I started to look around in fear, and the cave walls suddenly came to life. Thousands of eyes were staring at me and smiling with their mouths full of teeth. It was all around me. I ended up right inside that thing.
Become a part of me. Let me out into the world.
That voice in my head was giving me orders, and it felt like I couldn't disobey it. Suddenly, I noticed movement in one of the caves leading to the chamber. A huge creature, similar to a man but covered with toothy jaws from head to toe, walked out of it. A second monster appeared from another cave. They cut off my way out.
Don't fight us. Give us your body.
I heard the voice in my head again. Terrified, I backed away. I had nowhere to run. Would I really turn into such a horrible creature? All of a sudden, I saw a small pool and something like a bathyscaphe at the far end of the chamber. Was that my chance? I couldn't believe in such luck and rushed to it. I'd almost reached the bathyscaphe when one of the creatures fell right in front of me from somewhere above. I didn't have any time to react. The jaw bit into my shoulder with a crunch. I screamed in horror and pushed the creature away. Ignoring the pain, I jumped into the bathyscaphe and got out of there. The voice in my head kept ordering me to come back. Don't think about it. Don't listen to it. And then, the cockpit of the bathyscaphe was filled with the sound of the alarm signal. The indicator blinked red. What the hell? No! Damn it! The bathyscaphe was breaking down. I could see parts falling off it through the windows. Come on, just a little more. By some miracle, I swam out of the cave. That same instant, the engines turned off. The bathyscaphe simply fell apart. I noticed a familiar-looking orange parcel lying next to me, a life raft. I grabbed it and got out. And then I noticed a signal. My suit was no longer airtight. Teeth had left huge holes on the shoulder. It started to fill with water and drag me to the bottom. I quickly pulled off my diving suit, took a breath, and started swimming up. I could already see the surface. I swam to my salvation with the last of my strength, and I did it. I surfaced and gasped for air. When I caught my breath, I realized I was alone in the middle of the ocean. I pulled a rope. There was a hissing sound and the raft inflated. I fell on it and passed out from exhaustion.
That's how I survived. 2 days have passed since that moment, but nobody has found me yet. There is no signal here. I really hope the rescuers will come soon. I'm running out of food, and I need to feed myself and all these nasty mouths. I got infected after all. I'm scared. What will happen when I run out of food? I really need the rescuers to come. The voice says they are pretty tasty.
Gentlemen, Experiment D002 was successful. The subject was allowed to escape from his containment cell. A chase was staged. We led him into the cave containing SCP-3760. Observation has shown that people don't get infected through bites. The subject began to hear SCP-3760's voice even without any wounds on his body. It is possible that the anomalous object chooses the victim it possesses itself. Here are his current coordinates. The merchant ship, Atlantic, is moving in his direction. In 3 hours, they will meet, and Experiment D003 will begin. Kid Woodward will be ours once again.